gone. Eddie George.
Back is Dorsey to throw.
Yeah!
He throws it in the end zone.
Yeah!
Off to the races. Can they catch it? Cuts it back. Ohio State
The Ohio State of Mind podcast hosted by Josh Keatley and Michael Chin.
All right, welcome back into another edition. Oh, my mic is muted. Josh, can you unmute me? I don't know what's going on. My mic is muted. Am I there?
You good? It
Yeah,
doesn't say
can you
you're
hear
muted
me?
on the mic. I can hear you. Yeah.
I got a little pop-up that said my mic is muted. Well, anyways, welcome into the Ohio State of Mind podcast, episode number 51. We will get into who this episode is named after in just a moment, but it is Monday, November 4th, 2024. Buckeyes are coming off of a pretty solid win on the road against Penn State, undefeated Penn State. The Buckeyes moved up in both the polls. They took over Penn State's number 3 spot, which I think is legit. Although you could argue that Ohio State and Georgia's lost. Maybe the Buckeyes should have been 2, but it really doesn't matter. What matters is going to come out tomorrow evening with the first release of the college football playoff rankings. So that's all that matters. The AP, the coaches poll, they're great. They're good barometers, but they don't really matter. So let's be real. Anyways, episode 51, we are going to go with a linebacker, and it's going to be Anthony Schlegel. I was on campus when Schlegel was a Buckeye. I saw him at bars. So Schlegel, I believe, he was Air Force before Ohio State. Is that right?
That is
So
correct.
he had to. So this is well before the new transfer rules where you don't have to sit out a season. So 2004 was when I graduated, and Schlegel's on campus drinking with the boys, having fun on game days. Was not hanging out with the team. I saw him on High Street. I saw him on Lane Avenue. He was having a good time. Excuse me. He's hard to miss. He's a big dude. Eventually, tried his hand at the NFL. Didn't go all that great because Schlegel was good, but he wasn't NFL caliber. But it's still a very solid career.
I disagree with that. I mean, he was a third round.
You get
He
to
was
the
a
NFL
third
and
round
you're a pretty
pick.
damn good player. You get to the NFL and you're a pretty damn good player. I'm not trying to downplay. I'm not trying to downplay that. All right. Let's be real. Not a lot of people get a chance to play in the NFL. But it's just his career, being a third round pick, expectations are decently high. You're expected to be a contributor, correct. And he didn't quite live up to that billing, but obviously good enough to make it to the NFL. On top of that, got into strength and conditioning. He was a coach of the Buckeyes, and like Josh reminded me, Urban took him when he went to the Jaguars. I don't think it was a very long stay there because Urban didn't have a long stay there either. And I'm unaware of what Schlegs is doing right now, but
Got a podcast.
Got a podcast. All right. Well, that answers that. Just like us on that cue.
All right.
Oh,
Let's
Chris couldn't join us tonight, but he commented Schlegel, not Ross Homan, who's pretty good old Chris. He wanted us to have a throwback episode, just like you and I.
He has a point. I don't know who's producing this crap today. So
the thing about Schlegel too, he's one of the greatest linebackers in Ohio State history, in my opinion. Was drafted in the third. He kind of went to the NFL. The reason why his NFL career was, like you said, a little bit of a disappointment given his recruiting, his draft status, is that defense was so spectacular, right? I mean, Bobby Carpenter, AJ Hawk, those guys were both drafted in the first round. They're part of the same class. Second of all, is he kind of hit the NFL right when the NFL was going to more speed at the linebacker position.
Sure.
Schlegel was a big guy. It would not surprise me if Schlegel was 260 pounds by the time he left Ohio State. And he carried it well. He was a big, nasty, badass, but he kind of got in there right as they were leaving the the Brian Urlachers and Ray Lewis eras and was kind of moving on towards, the smaller, faster, speedier guys, and he wasn't that kind of linebacker, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Jim Parker's another 51 that's very noticeable, and that's somebody who did have a hell of an NFL career. He is in the NFL Hall of Fame as well as the College Hall of Fame. And then Mike Hall recently. I mean, we probably shouldn't spend a whole lot of time talking about Mike Hall due to his offseason transgressions is recent, but he was definitely badass for Ohio State when he was here. There's been a couple others. Yeah, Ross Holman was another one, as Chris mentioned. I was going through for our little exercise. I always like to kind of go through and see if there's any names I recognize that were kind of fun. Brian Bobeck, I thought you might kind of remember that name. He was like a former fringe five-star offensive lineman from, I believe he was from the state of Iowa, was an Army All-American recruit.
Sure,
he was a year before transferring out to Iowa State. I don't think he did much at Iowa State either. But
no, he was a center. He was a center too, right?
I can't remember. I know he was an offensive lineman, but I don't remember him playing. So I don't. That makes sense. That makes sense. I think he was definitely an interior guy. I think he played guard at Iowa State. But it's just kind of funny seeing a name like that because it's like, oh man, I remember there was a little bit of hype around that guy.
A little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Always some recruiting hype for some of those freshmen.
Yeah. Well, him especially for some reason really stuck out in my head. But yeah, man, I'm a little bit higher on the Penn State win than you are apparently. I think Ohio State looked great. I'm limiting myself.
I'll defend myself, but go ahead.
No. So I think we're saying the same thing, just different ways. Like
sure.
I'm not writing I'm not cashing in national championship tickets just yet. Ohio State's looking worse. Looked more bad than good this season. One Chris wrote Mike Hall skip. Yeah. There's been a lot of bad performances from Ohio State this year. So, and then Ryan Day owns James Franklin. So this win does deserve a little bit of a grain of salt. But for what it was a great win. I do believe that Penn State's really tough, and all the things that we thought Penn State was going to thrive at, they really didn't. I mean, let's go through some of the things that were really noticeable. I'll break down what I saw position by position. I thought Will Howard looked great. Will Howard, the part that, and I said that on another podcast, or I said that to some other people, and they were like, Will Howard threw a pick six immediately, and he fumbled. Okay, yeah, but he also picked himself back up, right? That was the kind of the deal with Kyle McCord, and we all watched the Kyle McCord game where he threw 5 interceptions 2 weeks ago, as you guys were making fun of me and my McCord love. But that was a typical.
3 of those were pick sixes too, by the way.
That's what I'm saying. That's a very Kyle McCord like game. Not bad, but things snowball, right? Kyle McCord kind of play just like Jameis Winston, right? When it rains, it pours with those guys.
Yeah.
Will Howard didn't let that deter him. He picked himself right back up and played a masterful game. You take out those 3 bad plays, and few quarterbacks in the country played better on Saturday than him. This is the best quarterback sneak team that we've had in forever. We talked about those short yardage situations. Will Howard gets like 5 yards every time they line up for a sneak. It's
goal
wild.
line push on the last drive for the Buckeyes to seal it.
Yeah,
5 yards. 5 yards. You expect like one.
And he's done it. He's done it multiple times this year. He's a big, bad, fast, athletic dude too. He's great when he's on the move. Few quarterbacks are that smooth when they're running. I love to see him run. I think that was an element that Ohio State did not have last year.
His sack elusiveness is elite.
Yeah, no, for sure.
It is
for
elite.
Sure. And I'm not shitting on Kyle McCord. Again, I will defend Kyle McCord is not the reason that they had their issues last year, right? I want to be very clear. I'm not shitting on Kyle McCord, but Will Howard, it's really hard to bitch about because he does all the things that everybody bitched about Kyle McCord. He does the exact opposite. He's great at it. So, yeah, Will Howard, I know he threw the pick six. I know he had the fumble, but he picked himself back up. He strapped up his shoes, went to goddamn work, dude. It's hard to play in Happy Valley. Ask anybody. Ask anybody. I spoke to JT Barrett about it a couple of years ago. Hardest place to play without even thinking. He said Penn State. It's a hard place to play. Chris has got a couple comments in here. Will Howard played off emotion. They didn't recruit me instead of playing off passion. He'll correct it. He was great. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Chris. He definitely showed some chutzpah. Love the humble humility. Yeah, Will Howard is great. I have no issues with he had a couple. You're gonna if you're looking for a perfect game, you shouldn't watch football. That's just right. Kind of how it goes. Yeah. Nate joins us, drunken Colts fan. that stadium's last. Yeah, 100%. We were just talking
Uh-huh.
about JT Barrett, talked about how that was the hardest stadium to play again. As far as running backs go, Quinshon Judkins played like an absolute man. We kind of bitched about them, the running backs kind of playing, with the pussy football a little bit, not really wanting to hit the hole. I didn't see that, especially with Quinshon Judkins this past week. And Quinshon Judkins was a great blocker on that end around with Will Howard. He was the blocker for Will Howard. He was great when he was chipping. No complaints about Quinshon Judkins. Was the best running back on Saturday, I thought. G. Scott, as much as I bitch about him, his mania brother. Yeah, I'm gonna get to that, Chris. As well. But G. Scott, I think was played. I bitch about G. Scott a lot. He played really well. He had a tough task
while he was on the field because he got injured towards the end as well.
And he had a tough task. Will Kazmarek wasn't there, so he was in there constantly. And I thought he played well. Given the task, he played well. And the offensive line played great. That was, to me, the big, bright, shiny moment. I know, again, this one game is not going to wash the sins away of the last 4 or 5. I know that Chris and you guys were talking about it a little bit in our text chat. And you kind of, Chris said, hey, shout out to the offensive line. And you were kind of like, well, wait a second. And I side with both of you. This was one of the better offensive line performances I've seen from them. If they play like this the rest of the way, I have no complaints, but I'm also with you where we've seen it one time and the questionable performances still outweighed the positive performances. But it was comforting me. It was weird when I saw Carson Hinsman walk out there at left guard. My thought was, okay, why was this not happening earlier? Sure. Why was this happening earlier? And then when he succeeded, it made me even more angry that we didn't see him earlier. This is a guy that started 12 games last year, center. It was all Big Ten. He was okay. He was very, very above average at center. He was not the issue. Seth McLaughlin's better, but he was not the issue. And then you put in Austin Severald and at guard. You put in Tegra Shabola at guard. Then you put in Luke Montgomery at guard last week. And then you put in Zen Mikulski at tackle. Why wasn't Carson Hinsman in there? That's the part that upsets me about the offensive line.
I have a theory. So do you remember why Hinsman did not play last year?
Yeah, he was talking shit about the NIL.
Right. And I think that
carried over to this year.
I think it did.
Then that's an issue.
Because I saw an interview with him where he, after the game on Sunday, where he was like, look, there are things that are not in my control, but what I can control is be ready and be prepared and continue to work hard. And I think that it seemed to me like he kind of had a sanctioned penalty by the coaching staff. It says, hey, we're going to allow you guys to go on these podcasts and talk about things, but that's a no-no. We can't talk about that. So
Chris has
that's what I think. That's what that's right. That's what I think happened. And they were forced to play him out of necessity, because I think that if all these guys weren't injured, I'd be willing to bet that we would not have seen Hinsman play.
So that may be true. I'm hoping it's not, because that's fucking disgusting. And it's a shame that Coach Stewart's not on.
I think a one game suspension warranted it. Don't play the bowl game.
He was suspended for the bowl game. He didn't play in the bowl game.
He was a healthy scratch, right? Like,
yeah.
And I think that nobody really asked about it. Nobody really asked about it.
That issue should not have bled. If that's the truth, that issue should not have bled into the season. First of all, the dude won Iron Buckeye this past year, right? Which is given out to the weight room warrior, right? So after all that bullshit that happened in the Missouri game, he goes out there and kicks some ass in the weight room, and you're telling me, based off of your theory, the only reason he's sitting the bench is because the coaches don't like him, because he was honest on a podcast. That's bullshit. That's upsetting to me, and that's why I'm still mad about. That's why I'm still mad about Justin Frye right now, because he was by far and away the best offensive lineman on set. Well, Donovan Jackson was great at left tackle too. Now I know he got beat by Abdul Carter a couple times. Abdul Carter is going to be a couple times. He got beat 3 times, really, 3 times. 2 of them were for sacks, and then the other time he got beat and there was no sack. But Abdul Carter is going to be a top. Maybe I shouldn't say top 10. Abdul Carter is going to be a first-round pick without a doubt.
He's a first round, 100%.
Very much in the same vein as Micah Parsons, and this is his first game at left tackle.
Sure.
Let's give him some grace here, guys. That was it was great. He won a few times.
I'm going to. I think that was a great move by the coaching staff. I think that at the end of the day, they finally found a unit that actually moved the ball.
Other than Tegra Shabola.
Yeah, which I still think Tegra. The offensive line in my eyes isn't just one guy; it's five. It's a unit, and if the offense can move the ball, score some points, push the defense off of the line of scrimmage, then I think that's a win. And yeah, maybe he didn't win all of his one-on-one battles, but I still think Tegra played, a very good game. And Drunken Colts fan, you are 100% on that.
Also felt defense played their best game. Yeah, well, we're definitely gonna get there as well. And then Chris is Josh mad. I'm not mad. That's disgusting. This is clearly the best the offensive line has looked. It makes no sense. And Tegra Shabola, I'm not saying to bench him because this is the worst game he's had, but he is a junior and he's as big as Corey Stringer and he gets pushed back. That's alarming to me. I don't want to bench him. I'm with you. I'm not mad at him or anything, but it pisses me off when I see Carson Hinsman, who's been placed on the shelf for 5 games. And we had this Tegra Shabola Austin Severo battle for 3 or whatever. Carson Hinsman's better than both of them. Hinsman's better than both of them. What's going on? Why did it take so long? It just pisses me off. But we'll see how it is going forward. I did have a couple of. I thought Chip Kelly coached an okay offense. I had issues when he stopped chipping Abdul Carter, and I think I know why he stopped. Donovan Jackson looked very, very good against Abdul Carter. Donovan Jackson looked great. Donovan Jackson locked up All-American status that Saturday. So he was like, okay, let's see if he can handle him one-on-one.
Didn't work.
Mixed results. I wouldn't have risked it. They also ran empty set a couple times. I thought that was stupid. I don't know why you would ever go empty set with running backs like Travion Henderson, Quinton Judkins as a constant threat, but whatever. The defense played great. No complaints.
Can we go back to Chip Kelly for a second?
Yes, sir.
So I do think that he called a better game than you think he called. And I think part of that has to do with him building.
Matthew wants to rename the podcast Pardon My Buckeyes. And honestly, it's a great name. It's a great name. But
I thought that he called a really good game because he made in-game adjustments early on. That little pitch out that we've seen to the weak side that they ran multiple times to the running backs, that quick pitch where he puts that defensive end in conflict and they have to make that decision. We had not seen much of that or anything at all of that. And it worked really, really well. The first touchdown to Brandon Innes was a direct result of that play because that was a fake to the outside. Innes dragged him over the inside, was wide open, absolutely wide open. So I am going to give props to Chip Kelly. I thought he called a very good game given the circumstance.
Yeah, I'm not going to bitch, but listen. If I mentioned 3-4 plays out of the entire game against a top 5 opponent. Cool. I'm not. Yeah, that's cool with me, man. Chris wants me to make sure that I do show the overlay that he worked so hard for. On
you got to get my face out of there though.
I know, dude. I'm working to trying to get it out of there. Oh my God! Right there. There were the
That'll do.
Classic photo of Schlegel slamming the fans.
Yep. And that fan deserves it.
All right.
Good job, Schleg.
Yeah. It was pretty funny. Let me zoom back out. Right, that's better. But back to the defense. Yeah, I thought the defense looked great too. We talked about, I was a little hesitant to be like, oh, the defense is back because it was just a 1-game sample size with Nebraska, but the defense did look good. Tyleik Williams is an absolute monster. When he went down, I got scared. But Hero Canoe filled in great. Kane McDonald filled in great. That was who was on that goal line.
And he blew up all 3. He blew up 3 of those plays.
Yeah. The Tyleik Williams was out. Then Hero Canoe and McDonald played great. Yeah. Get him in the rotation. Let's rock and roll. I thought they played great. Cody Simon. Thought he played great. He was all over the field. I didn't see him slipping up. I like Cody Simon. That was probably Cody Simon's one of his better games. Lathan Ransom being back, the defensive backfield is a godsend. Lathan Ransom was I have a new appreciation for him because the defensive backs definitely improved with him. And then they stopped Warren, right? They stopped Tyler Warren. That's all we heard all week is how great this tight end was. And
they didn't stop Tyler Warren. Caleb Downs stopped Tyler.
Yeah, and on that defensive line play, they moved over, they double teamed them and all that. They played well. We kind of talked about Warren being. I want to be very clear, and not say overrated, because he's a very talented tight end. But we talked about him not being in the same field as Wilson Loveland and Luke Lachey, and they proved that. They did great, man. I got no complaints about the defense. Like I said, if I really wanted to nitpick. I mean, I think I did. I think I nailed it. You do want to see your wide receivers. Jeremiah Smith and Mekik Buka are great. They had good games. A lot of the plays was designed for them. So you would really like to see those guys just. When you watch Oregon play, those guys burn by defenders, and we don't really see that a whole lot. But again, beggars can't be choosers. That's not what's going to keep them from winning. Sure. As far as the defense goes. Do we have a Ryan Shazier? No, but again, Cody Simon played great. Sonny Styles wasn't a liability, so that's cool with me. Sorry, people are texting my phone, making fun of I guess someone screenshotted my face. Looks like a prime real estate to Photoshop a dick in my mouth. So we'll see how that progresses. But that's kind of where it was at, man. Again, I'm not writing a national. I still need to see more, because they've looked bad. There's more times they look bad than good this year. I want to be very clear about that. I am by no means writing a ticket to the national championship, but I thought it was a good game. It was much more impressive than people want to give it credit for.
Yeah, no, I think you covered a lot of bases. Clearly I chimed in when, I kind of wasn't in full agreement with you. Offensively, like I said, I thought Chip Kelly called a great game. Look, Will Howard made one bonehead throw all game, which obviously cost them points. But at the end of the day, he, like you said, he turned it around. He got the offense going. 20 points is not a lot. Let's be real here. But when your defense is playing the way that the Buckeyes were playing, not allowing a touchdown all game, and then that was the first time in 10 years that Penn State hadn't scored an offensive touchdown. 10 years. That's a long-ass time. That's a century. That is impressive. That is, they went out there and did a lot of things. I do want to give a couple shout outs as well. I thought that Kenyatta Jackson played very, very well. We haven't been hearing much of him. He is in the rotation, but he finally got a chance to really, really do it well. Thank you. I appreciate that. Chris, I agree with that. Kenyatta played well. Caleb Downs was out of this world. I think that he looked he looked like, All-American once again, that he is. I think that Davison Igmanosin, for what he is and how physical he is, they allowed some of that physical play. And it was happening on both sides. So, you can't argue with, no calls, because it wasn't just one-sided. Penn State was being handsy with the wide receivers as well, with the Buckeyes wide receivers. So I think it went both ways. That interception was one hell of a play. Live, I was like, touchdown. And then all of a sudden he has the ball and he's pointing the other way. I'm like, what the hell happened? And that was a fantastic play. He had a couple other pass breakups as well over the course of the game. I think this is a really good win. But the one thing that I wasn't necessarily happy about was this should have been a blow. I think we all watched the same game. We all know what happened. And Ohio State was clearly the better team, like significantly better in my eyes. They had opportunities where they missed points. Obviously, Howard fumbling into the end zone, the pick six and everything, right? But Ohio State should have won this game by 3 touchdowns. They didn't, clearly, but I think that they could have. And that's really encouraging to me. As Chris mentioned earlier, with Will Howard saying after the game that he didn't play his best. And I don't think he's wrong. I think he's right. And if that wasn't their best...
I agree. I mean, clearly it wasn't his best, right, because he threw the INT. We do have a couple notes to chat. And Chris, I'm with you, Kotolinki. For as much as we talked about him all week long, that offense was same old James Franklin, poor time management.
Yeah, the end of the first half was bad. Like, why
Yeah.
didn't you call a timeout with 50 seconds left? Like, what the hell? Like, you don't
Classic.
you don't bank up for the second half, man. Like, what are you doing?
Classic.
You wasted so much time. They had to settle for a field goal on that drive. It's just like, what the hell? Like, I don't understand. Like, they even, like, whoever was in a quarterback, whether it was Eller or Pribia.
It was Haller, because they refused to put Pribia in towards the goal line. It was really strange. Like, they didn't put them more. It was really weird.
A running quarterback would be better against the Buckeyes in goal line situations, in my eyes.
And they've had Pribia play towards the goal line.
That was confusing as well. So, you know, when you're looking at it like that, it's like they were looking over, like, should we call it? And he's like waving him off not to call it. So yeah, James Franklin definitely made a mistake on that one. Like, that was bad. Yeah, that was bad management for him. You know, he loves to turtle up, kind of like, you know, what Ryan Day's kind of recently done against Michigan. He just, you know, when he sees the scarlet and gray, he turtles up a little bit. You know, James Franklin, I think, is a pretty decent coach, but, you know, at some point in time, kind of like, he's decent. I didn't say good. I said decent. He is a decent coach. You know, kind of like the Harbaugh situation, although
he's the poor man's Ryan Day.
Significantly more time. Yeah, poor man's Ryan Day would work, right? It's very similar to the Harbaugh situation, right? Where, like, it took him years and years and years to figure it out, and then, you know, with a little bit of cheating, he finally figured it out. But you know, Penn State doesn't have that cheating quite down yet, so that's kind of why they're there. But no, I do think he's a good coach. He recruits really well. He's got talented players. You know, he always has 1 to 2 first-round picks on that team. And this is something that you and I were talking about pre-show, and I want to get into it now, is that a lot of people are downplaying this win like it's just Penn State. They were overrated, blah, blah, blah. Well, what happens if they win, right? Like, what's the narrative there? Penn State's great, blah, 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 this and that, right? It can't go both ways. They're either a good team, they're either a really good team, or they're not a good team. And I think they're a really good team.
Well, this is what we're getting. Thank you, Mike, for we're getting to the meat of some of the some interesting comments here. Josh, your thoughts on Tim Membry sign with? Thank you for the Australian rules football. I googled that. I googled who that was. But,
I had no idea. I was looking at that like, what the hell?
If you comment it, if we said when we started the show, if you comment, we'll put it up there. So that congratulations. Bill wrote he liked my beard, and then he had a comment on Mike's Australian rules signing. So okay, cool. Chris actual Ohio State comments. 5 plays inside the 5. Warner Singleton didn't touch the ball, not even roll. Yeah, man, it was weird.
Bad.
It was weird. Koenig has been shut out twice in his career. Sunday versus
Jim Knowles and Jim Knowles. That is correct. Yep, I saw that stat as well.
But back to what you're saying about the overrated, you know, Penn State overrated thing. Those guys, Mike and Bill, they were actually in the same chat as me when and someone's also want to know, is that your real piano? That's a sick room, bro.
It actually is. Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate it.
You gotta change that background. Every week,
I didn't tell you. I'm moving. We bought a house last week, so I am moving, and the basement is finished, unlike my current house. So you will be seeing a new background without a piano. So
very nice.
As much as everyone likes my current home, it's out the window. You will see a new background here in the coming weeks.
Very nice. Very nice. But they were actually in the chat. Someone wrote in the chat, both of these teams would be dog walked against good teams. And I said, who are good teams? No response, right? Just like the other guy, Ryan Ring, who comments, trolls constantly. You know, these guys are teams. Who are good teams? Unless your definition of a good team is just 3 college football teams in Georgia and Texas, who, by the way, struggled with Vanderbilt, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I don't know what your definition.
Although you have to give it to Vandy, they're pretty decent this year. They're solid.
Right, but that's no different than Indiana. You know what I mean? Like, what is so? But if you're going to if you're going to lump Vanderbilt into your good teams rating, which is fine, I would.
Sure.
I would. You know, if I think of good teams in college football, I think of 25, 30 teams, right? Like, oh, hey, that team's tough.
Yeah. They're good.
Team's tough. Everybody's yada yada yada. Right. You know, like Colorado. Colorado isn't very good. They're isn't very good, but that's a team that I would say is, hey, they're pretty tough. The right weather, right, the light hits them in the right way. But Penn State's right to the top 5. Ohio State's right to the top 5. Ohio State's only loss was by 1 point to the number 1 team in the country, who I don't think anybody's going to argue against being a bad team. So what's your fucking definition of a good team? What's your fucking definition? You're just trolling at that point. You're just trolling at that point, and not give credit. If your argument, and I've always said, if your argument is that this game deserves an asterisk because Ryan Day owns James Franklin and James Franklin's not a good coach, fine. You can have that. That's a good argument that I don't have a rebuttal for. But if you're just shouting from the hip that Penn State's not good or Penn State's always overrated, you're fucking stupid. Yeah. We talked about their 18, and the last 10 years, they have the 18th most victories in all of college football. And that's including teams like Appalachian State, Boise State, Western Kentucky, right? They're in the top 15 if you only count Power 4 schools. They're a good team. They're always a very consistent team. And the last 10 years, I think they've won 10 games, 7 of them. You know what I mean? For as much as Ohio State's beaten their ass in the last 7 years, the last 9 years, Ohio State is 2-7 against the spread against Penn State. So it's not like Ohio State's wiping the floor with them, right? Compared to expectations. So that's kind of what's going on with all that shit.
I think you said it perfectly, Josh. I definitely agree with you. You can't have it both ways. Like I said earlier, Penn State's either a good team or they're not a good team. And what we saw Saturday was a pretty damn good team in my eyes. No, they didn't win the game clearly, but I still think that talent-wise, I think they match up with the majority of teams across the country. I think they're that.
It's a dumb argument, and I agree with you, Chris. Ohio State be a team that will win them out. Maybe they won't make the playoffs. I don't know. Maybe they won't. Maybe they will. But they're still a good. They're going to go.
You have to think that they will. You have to think that they will, right?
I mean, maybe their schedule's shit, right? They should.
But they're not gonna have a conference championship. They're not gonna have a signature win. Right. But I still think an 11-1 Power 5 team who plays in the Big Ten, who's arguably the top 2 conferences in the country, gets it.
If I had to put money on it, I'm putting money on them making the playoffs.
I would agree with that.
But my point would be, even if they don't make the playoffs, it doesn't mean they're not good. We're not talking about a team. When Notre Dame was ranked in the top 5 and Ohio State beat them, Notre Dame went on to lose against Marshall and USC. They lost 4 games that year, and the quarterback blew, and no one, they had like 2 guys get drafted. Penn State's not like that. They're never like that, right? They win the games they're supposed to. They lose to good teams, which are typically Michigan, Ohio State, maybe the bowl game every now and again. They always have 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 guys drafted within the first 2. Joey Porter Jr. started as a goddamn rookie for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Olu Fashanu, who starts for the Jets, right? The tight end.
I don't think he starts for the Jets.
Started last week.
No, he was playing guard.
He did not play well.
He was playing guard. He had come in for an injury. So he came
in for an injury?
Yes, he's a backup. That's why he's playing guard.
Yeah, because
I watched the post game and Aaron Rodgers was talking about him. He's like, we got a tackle playing a guard. He's the future out there, but he's not quite ready yet. Blah blah blah. So I do think he's a backup, but he's going to play eventually. He loves gonna.
Chris, I'm going over the differences. But they're always whatever. He was a top 10 pick though, right? I mean, whether he's starting or not, he's still a top 10 pick. He was a top 10 pick. Trace McSorley was in the NFL. I mean, they have quarterbacks. Sean Clifford's in the NFL. This is a school that produced Allen Robinson. I mean, there's talent. This is not a scrub university.
Yeah.
They produce talent. I mean, there's a ton of defensive back. It's just a dumb conversation. It's linebacker you. It's a dumb conversation. I don't. There's really nothing else I can say. Someone also messed with me. Ryan Ray, who was too big of a pussy to join us today. He mentioned that. Why is this even a rivalry? First of all, it's not technically a rivalry. As anybody who watches college football would know, and of course he doesn't, Penn State is quote unquote unrivaled, right? So in 2026, Ohio State and Penn State will not play. The only reason they were playing every year before is because Ohio State was in the East Division along with Penn State. Correct. So they played each other the same way that they played Indiana every year, right? The reason why this has so much hype surrounding it is because they're both usually good teams. Just like Alabama and Georgia, when they play each other, there's typically a bit of hype because they're both good, right? They're just they were in the same division for so long. So yeah, that guy, he just is a complete idiot, and it's a shame he's not on the show to defend himself. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with the Penn State thing, and also talking about it being lopsided. Like I said, 2-7 against the spread the last 9 games. Ohio State's not just curb stomping them every year.
No.
You know what I mean? They're getting the win. And that's usually how it goes.
Close. It's always close.
And that's usually how it goes when you talk about college football, is you have these swings because coaches own other coaches, right?
When you looked at the so College Game Day doesn't project scores or predict scores for the games, but Fox does. And I happened to catch Fox's this week, and they all had it inside 2 to 3 points. No one had it.
And it's always
everyone.
Yeah, and it's always. I mean, that's typically anybody who follows college football kind of knows that these are ebb and flows, right? Your dominance usually lasts as long as your coach does, right? I mean, if you look at some of the deep South's oldest rivalry, Georgia's won 9 of the last 1 games against Auburn, 17 of the last 3. Still a big game every year. The clean old-fashioned hate. That's Georgia Tech. Georgia's won 8 of the last 2, 17 of the last 20. The third Saturday in October, that's Alabama and Tennessee. Alabama's won 8 of the last 10, 17 of the last 20. These are all blowouts, right? That maybe not blow the span of their history, but that's typically how they work.
Oops, I think we lost Josh for a second. But no, back to the point of Penn State and, them not being good. I think it's a cop-out. I think it's the easy answer. When you look at teams across the country, there's not many teams that are going to give Penn State a battle. And I think that it's just an easy way out to say that Penn State's overrated, that they're not very good. I think they're a very good team. Before you cut it.
I was just going on my rivalry. I'm hoping you got all those stats, but if you don't think they're good, that's fine. It's a subjective argument, right? But you have to at least admit that's the thing. No one wants to ever text me their list of good teams. Just like Ryan Ring, he wants to talk shit, but he doesn't want. Who are your good teams? If it's a subjective argument, if you don't think Penn State's good, that's fine. But in order for you to have any credibility, then that your good teams list is like 5 teams.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, and then you can't even.
It might be less.
Yeah, it might even be, and that's fine if that's but that's not how most people are, right? Most people understand in the span of college football, there's at least 15 schools. The playoffs are 12 teams. The playoffs are 12 teams. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In my
opinion, I don't think all 12 will have an opportunity to win a title.
But I think that most open mind maybe. But okay, look at your 12th seed. If your 12th seed is Boise State, if I'm Ohio State, do I think Ohio State's going to win? Yeah, but I'm not sniffing.
Yeah.
I'm not just scoffing at Boise State. To me, that's a tough team. I would classify them in the good team, right? There are probably 30, 35 teams that I would watch the Ohio State game with my asshole clinched up. I would know Ohio State's better than them, skillfully wise, but anything can happen on any given Sunday in the right spot. And I like Iowa State, for example. Iowa State just got hammered by Texas Tech. Iowa State's a tough team. If Ohio State went out to Ames next Saturday, you and I both would be like,
this is going to be easy. Yeah.
Right? That's college football. That's and that's how most people usually see it. They don't usually just go, these 3 teams are good, everybody else blows.
Sure. No, I totally agree with you. I just think it's an easy way out to say that Penn State's just not good. And I don't think I don't think that's the right take. You could say Penn State played a bad game. Maybe you could even say Ohio State played down to their competition in this one to make it closer. Because like I said earlier, I think that Ohio State should have won by probably 3 touchdowns in this one. I think they're that much better. But at the end of the day, I still think this is a good win. The playoff committee is going to give Ohio State a lot of credit for this win. And I think nationally, I think they got a lot of credit for it as well. There's multiple guys who think Ohio State's the, one of the top 2 or 3 teams in the country. And, this one proves that. I mean, like you said before, if you're looking for great teams, and Oregon's probably like that team this year, right? And Ohio State,
if Oregon plays in Happy Valley, if Oregon plays in Happy Valley, see what happens, right?
Right, exactly. So if that's your barometer, then Ohio State lost by 1 on the road. And
I mean,
then they won. They won by 6 against Penn State. So it's like it's just hard to.
It's just a dumb comment. To further how stupid his comment was, he said what he compared Penn State to Virginia Tech and Louisville. That's a dumb fucking comment. That's a dumb comment, right?
Yeah.
Because no one in their right mind is going to have them in the same tier as goddamn Virginia Tech, who blew a 21-point lead against a Syracuse team that lost to fucking Stanford, right? Whose quarterback couldn't start at Ohio State. It doesn't. It's just a dumb. You're just trolling at that point, in my opinion.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about. That was not Will Howard's best throw. He's got a lead.
Whoa, are we talking about?
He's got a lead. The one where Tate caught it out of bounds.
Oh yes, I thought you were talking about the Jeremiah
Howard's
Smith
got
one.
Howard's the Jeremiah Smith one that probably could have been a touchdown too because he stopped his stride and in our chat I was like, what the hell is he doing? And then Chris was like, probably because he expected Howard to underthrow it, which kind of made me laugh. So I was like, yeah, that makes sense.
So someone told me it was because the sun was in his eyes.
Potentially, I don't know. Someone would have to ask him, and I did not see him getting asked that. But Tate's ball, if Howard throws that towards the goal line as opposed to the sideline, easy touchdown. Easy touchdown.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like I said, but I'm not comparing him to CJ Stroud when I say he had a great game, but I'm comparing him to the rest of college football. And
sure.
There's
he
3 dudes out there.
He doesn't have to.
Look at Carson. Look at Carson Beck. Carson Beck was supposed to be a first-round pick, and
same thing. He doesn't have to do much. Neither of them have to do much. All they have to do is get the ball to their playmakers. And if they can do that, they'll be successful because both teams have elite skilled position players. But
I don't know if I agree with this point made by Chris. Ohio grows more from this matchup that
I would agree with Chris on this one, and I think it's not necessarily for result. I think it's for a confidence factor because you go in, you really have, your second real tough road game, and you go in, you're down 10-0. You have resilience to battle back, keep it back. And then you have multiple goal line stops, one at the end of both halves. And then you run the damn ball. And then you run the damn ball with 4 minutes left. What did I say in our group chat? Don't give him the ball back. That's what I said in our group chat. I said, don't give him the ball back. And what did they do? They ran it what, like 9 consecutive times to seal the deal. So yes, I think that they, this is what like a confidence. It's a, hey, this is working. Hey, we can still do this type of win.
Sure.
And I think they learned a lot more about themselves. Like I said, I think they learned a lot more about themselves this past weekend than they did when they lost to Oregon. Because Oregon, it's like, oh, we barely lost. Everything's okay. Right?
Yeah, you know what? You convinced me. I think that, I can't talk about mental strength and Will Howard doing this and doing that and bouncing back without, at least giving your theory credit, because that's basically the same thing. So
most likely.
Yes, confidence. Mike and I were separated from birth. Oh my God, Chris. We get it. Maybe now I know he's not on the screen. He's too busy.
I call Little Spoon.
No shit. All right. You want to move on to the Purdue game, or we got anything else to add?
Let's get to this woodshed that we're gonna see this weekend.
I'm really upset that dude bailed on me. That dude texted me. I'll have to show you guys a screenshot. He texted me no less than 10 times about Ohio State sucking. I sent him the invite, and all of a sudden he can't fucking come on. What a pussy!
It would have been nice for him to be able to come on and defend his point.
But, a little bit, yeah. And I invited him. I was nice. I was a classy boy. Boy. All right.
Yeah, classy boy.
So Purdue sucks. We talked about that, right? But I'm gonna go ahead and talk.
How does Ryan Walters still have a job? That's what I don't understand.
He should have never been hired. We talked about that. We should have never been hired.
But that's in the past. The current situation is he is still employed. How the hell is that possible?
But the thing is, though, how long has he been there? He hasn't been there very long.
This is year 2. This is year 2.
I don't think you can fire him, dude. I don't think you, because,
Why?
Brom because
doesn't recruit well. You're not seeing results in the field. He's clearly
Well, I don't know if
lost
that's true though.
He's clearly
because
lost this team.
He's definitely lost his team. There's no doubt that.
Right.
I don't know if you could fire him because you had an offensive guy who left. You brought in a defensive guy who's hasn't found his offensive guy. He's already fired offensive coordinators, moving this guy. Everything that is bad has happened to him. And I don't know if you can say. I don't know if you ask people that follow Purdue if they've recruited worse. I don't think they're going to agree with you. I think that they would say that they're actually recruiting better, or at least there's been more prominent names to come to campus, had Purdue in the ring. He just maybe hasn't closed the deal. Now, with that said, I agree with you. He's a bad coach. He was a bad hire. I just don't know if you can how can you fire a guy? It's kind of like, it's kind of like when the Browns started Deshaun Kaiser and he sucked. And it was like, dude, how is anybody mad at him for sucking? Like, we knew that this was going to happen.
I just feel like once you've lost the team, it's very hard to get it back. Especially in college, and I think it rings more in college because of the fact that these are young men who have aspirations of playing at the next level, and especially with the new transfer portal rule, right? With the new transfer portal rules, do you think any of his good players are going to stick around? Why the hell do you think Nick Skirton didn't stick around? He transferred to Texas A&M. Like, let's be real here.
A lot of that was NIL cash.
It was, and that's fine, and that's fine. But if everything was equal at both places, don't you think he would have stayed? And clearly, it wasn't. Clearly, he saw something coming, right?
I don't know. Maybe the skirt thing's a little. That's a little bit of. I
don't know too much about it. Though.
It is a little bit of an odd piece, but Ryan Walters has added some talent through the transfer portal that a lot of people want. They added that Corey Stewart from Ball State, and he was getting offers from all over the country. He was able to keep Thieneman. He got Nyland Green. Everybody in the country wanted Nyland Green.
Thieneman's a dog, but I think he's having a bad year.
They're as far as like the recruiting thing goes, he sucks. They're always going to suck. He was a bad hire. But I just don't think you can fire him yet because there are certain things where it's like, all right, man, maybe this can break the right way. I don't think that will. I want to be very clear. I'm not defending Ryan Walters. I just want to be clear in the fact that I don't think you can fire him. But it kind of goes back to our conversation last week about passion, who's at fault, and that's kind of why I was blaming. I'm saying that's a lot of from the coach because you can see Purdue don't want to play. You don't want when you don't want to play. Whose fault is that? That's the coach.
I mean, they're just going through the motions right now. I mean, but that's different. That losing your team and not firing up your team, I think is different. I think
100%.
They fall into two different buckets.
I don't know if they fall. One is at least maybe they're not. Maybe they're in the same bucket, but one is way deeper. You know what I mean? Like, so you know what I mean?
I'll take that.
Right. What you know what I mean? Like, I get. Yeah, it's not. They're not. It's not a similar situation to what we were talking about last week, but it's in the same ballpark, I guess. Right. But yeah, so back to Purdue. Purdue does have. They're awful. They're one of the worst teams in the Big Ten. But they do have an interesting offensive line. Gus Hartwig is a Remington Award finalist, All-American candidate, 6'5", 315 at center. Is going to be playing on the NFL. DJ Wingfield, he starts at guard. He was the transfer that came in from New Mexico. Very highly sought after from New Mexico, 6'4", 290. That guy can play guard. The other guard is Mohamed Musa, 6'4", 310 pounds. He started at guard last year. Maybe it was tackling. He moved to guard. Another very competitive guy. You don't see him get beat very often. The offensive tackles are Marcus Mabau, who is actually projected to go. He's projected to be drafted within the first 3 rounds. I didn't know that.
He's pretty good.
There's
a couple of highlights of him. There's a couple of highlights of him earlier this year that went viral. That he's just literally ragdolling people.
NFL scouts are seriously talking about him constantly. And then Corey Stewart. Corey Stewart's been bumped and bruised all year, but he's that incoming transfer off the tackle from Ball State that I was referring to. It was all MAC last year. The Ohio State, at one point, was kicking the tires on. So the offensive line is very competitive. This is definitely one of the better offensive lines in the Big Ten. So Ohio State, the defensive line is going to have their work cut out for him. I'm thinking Ty Williams is probably not going to play. I wouldn't play him.
I wouldn't play him either.
Even if he's 90%, I'm not playing him against a team I'm favored by 4 touchdowns against.
Hold him for Indiana.
6 touchdowns against. Yeah. So, but this is going to be a good test for Hero Canoe and Cade McDonald. And then obviously they have good defensive backs. We've talked about that before. Dylan Thieneman, if I'm Ryan Day and I'm gonna go a little portal shopping, maybe you spend some time shaking his hand a little bit longer after the game. That was a guy who was a freshman. Not only was he freshman All-American, he was freshman of the year last year. They've played him at both safety.
He has regressed this year. I'm not sure.
But that's not – I don't think he has. They've moved him. So before he was just playing – he's playing safety. He's playing corner. He's playing
corner
in the
this year?
They're moving him around a lot. They're moving him around a lot.
Okay.
With added responsibility is going to come more hiccups. So I don't really think
it's him.
Answer. Nyland Green, we talked about him. He's the other cornerback. He plays cornerback. He's the transfer from Georgia. He's lived up to the hype for the most part. He's been very competitive. The other cornerback is Batras Alice Madro. He's okay. Again, he's not the worst defensive back that they're going to see. Their nickelback is Kendrick Breedlove, transfer from Colorado. He played at Colorado, started at Colorado. So we know he has some skill. He's been okay this year. And the other safety is Antonio Stevens, who actually had an interception last week against Northwestern. So and he makes plays like that quite a bit. So they're pretty good there. The quarterback position, Purdue's actually pretty good at quarterback too. Either Hudson Card or Ryan Brown. Hudson Card is the better quarterback. He throws the ball well. Former 5-star recruit, went to Texas, transferred to Purdue. He gained a lot of weight in the offseason.
He had a perfect quarterback rating in game 1.
Yeah, that's right. He owns the record, right? Yeah, against Southern Illinois, right, or whoever it was. But he throws a pretty ball. He throws a really pretty ball. But Ryan Brown is also pretty good. Again, if I'm Ryan Day and I'm gonna dabble, that might be a guy that I shake hands with a little bit longer too. I know Ohio State.
You got Julian saying it's fine.
I understand the quarterback from a stack, but this guy's actually played in critical moments, and he stepped up to the plate. He looked really good against Illinois. He's very athletic. I'm kind of surprised they didn't play him more last week. They only played him 2 drives, and he was below average, and then they gave up on him. But you're Purdue. Like, I don't know why you did that. He's only a freshman. Really seems silly to me. But Hudson Card is the better quarterback. I'm not shitting on Hudson Card, but Ryan Brown is definitely going to be a dude. He's in my opinion. He can move around. So either quarterback, Hudson Card they announced he was going to be the starter this Saturday. So that's the dude they're going to play. I would not doubt that they put Ryan Brown in at some point. Sure. But those guys are good. The quarterbacks are good. These are really decent quarterbacks. So that's kind of what we're looking at. The Purdue offense is not the most pitiful thing in the world. The receivers are awful. They're all my size and slow. So that's not a good combination. And their pass rush is terrible. Their defensive line's terrible. Their defensive line, you could probably say the same thing. They're all my size and slow. So they're not really giving anybody else a chance. They're just going to get pile drive into the ground. You know what I mean? Sure. They have no running game. Devin Maccabee, he had that good game last year. I don't know why that still befuddles me. There's the receivers are all. That's why Hudson Card can't do anything anymore, because those guys, the receivers are terrible. So that's kind of where we're at. I think Ohio State's going to beat the spread.
Yeah. What is it right now? What do you have?
38 points.
38. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, you want me to put you down for Ohio State?
Yeah. I think that this is, like I talked about earlier, there's this kind of aura of confidence that you kind of see growing here, right? It's starting to come along. And yes, Chris, I agree. And I think that
don't entertain Chris. He didn't give us one goddamn pick last week. He wants to give us this slam dunk one. Go back to work. All right. Anyway, you were saying.
No, I just feel like it's building. It's coming. For the defense to go out there and not allow a touchdown, and the offense to score enough points to get them a victory, and probably they left points on the table. I think that this is a game where you're going to see a different team come out that we've seen, one with a little bit more confidence, played a little bit more free. I think that early on in the season, the expectations were so high. Everyone's talking about how this is a generational team, an all-time great, and I think that that gets to people's heads, right? And then,
but it is though, right?
I mean, talent-wise, it could be, but they still have to go out there and prove it. They still have to go out there and prove it, though. There's many teams that were like, oh my God, this is the greatest team ever. Like 2020, 2002 Miami, right? Did
Yeah.
anybody give the Buckeyes a chance in that game? No. Everyone's like, Miami's going to murder him. Miami's going to murder him. Miami's going to murder him. So you still have to go out there and do it, right? And I think that, what we saw this week is going to carry over for at least the next few weeks, hopefully through Michigan and through a rematch with Oregon in the Big Ten championship game. And I think that it's building, it's coming. You're talking about an offense that has a new quarterback and a brand new offensive coordinator, a defense that has some flaws, but in season, they're fixing those flaws. They're actively working on correcting those, where we haven't seen that before. Usually it's Jim Knowles is just like,
Gotta put it up. Thank you, Chris.
yeah, I put it up reluctantly.
Just for reference,
Knowles,
by the way, that 2002 team that you referenced might not be the best example since that was Larry Coker who coached. I've already compared Ryan Day to Larry Coker a shit ton. So I just want to add more ammo.
Okay. But Larry Coker, still got him there, right?
He did.
So,
he got to win a national championship before he got canned. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. So I think that this game carries over, and I think that the confidence is building, and if they can build on it this week, and then they can continue to build on it, I think Indiana's in for a rude awakening, and I think that Ryan Day finally breaks that 3-game losing streak against Michigan. So I think that it's kind of. I know. I think that everything's kind of falling into place, and I think we're going to see a big performance from the Buckeyes. I'd love to see this one be over at halftime so we could rest all of our starters and get the second team plenty of run, because we haven't really had one of those games over the last few weeks. And with the new redshirt rules, it's coming to the end where guys who can play that haven't played should get some run because it's valuable for them. And,
how many games does Sand played?
You get 4. Sand's played. But
you're not going to redshirt him. Are you going to redshirt him anyways, though?
Sand, no. But I'm seeing like some of the other guys. Like how many games has James Peoples played in? And Williams Dixon.
He might have played. Peoples might have played in 4. Dixon is not.
Aaron Scott, right? Like he's played in a couple of games. Like this weekend, Purdue's going to be a good game for him to get out there and get some quality playing, right? Like a guy like him.
Yeah, I agree.
You would have to expect that, since he is one of the, out of that very good secondary class, like he's the guy that's playing the most. You have to expect that he's going to have a role with the team next year. So why not get him a little extra run in a game like this? It just makes a lot of sense. And so
I would say Edric Houston would probably be number 1 on my list.
Edric Houston, sure. Another great example. Perfect. That's a guy that needs to see the field. We were told at the beginning of the year that he was going to play a lot, and he's not. And I think that now with, a little bit more rotation that we're seeing, I think, my complaint 2 weeks ago was that the Buckeyes weren't rotating on the defensive line enough. And we saw a much better rotation this weekend. We saw a lot more of Caden Curry, McDonald, Hero Canoe. We saw a lot more of those guys. And I think that it's starting to come around, So, I'm not the biggest fan of Mitchell Melton, but he was in there a little bit. Kenyatta Jackson got some run as well. I'm liking this rotation that they showed against Penn State much better. Why? I don't think they make that goal line stop in the fourth quarter if they're running the same 4 dudes out there all game. I don't.
Well,
I really, really don't. And I think that is a byproduct of the fact that they rotated more than they have been. So you didn't see that fourth quarter collapse. Right? Because in all of Ryan Day's, in a lot of Ryan Day's losses, what's happening? It's competitive for the first half, 3 quarters, and then the fourth quarter they get their asses handed to them. It did not happen this week. So again, there's some evolution here. There's some growing, and this team's not perfect. Is this team damn good? Yeah, they are. But I think we're seeing that growth. I think we're seeing that growth that we wanted to see happen in the offseason, but they're doing it in the season. So I'm good with that. They haven't peaked.
Yeah.
This is not the best we'll see of Ohio State. They have not peaked yet.
Well, it can't be, right? Because there were still some pretty
right.
I mean, this was a good. We're all very happy with this being a step in the right direction, but this is not the final. If this is the final product, they're not going to make it. They're not going to make it to the semifinals.
Sure. No, I agree
right?
with that. Yeah.
I think we agree with that. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. All right. Cool. So we're both on.
Yeah. How did we do last week?
Oh, dude, you killed it. Let me pull it up. So I went 4-4. Yeah. I went 4-4. It was just funny because I won the first 4 Big Ten games of the week, and then I collapsed. I went. So yeah, I'm 52-50-2 as of now. My Michigan State pick is what really fucked me. You went 5-3, so you gained some ground. You are 51-51-2 on the year.
500, baby.
Yeah, so you would have gotten me, but you picked. What was your weird pick? Was
Penn State.
Yes, yeah, you picked Penn State. Yeah, and Illinois. You picked Illinois too. That was
I've been riding hard on that train. I might be getting off.
Yeah, and then Ryan went 2-6.
Ooh,
so he got Oregon and Indiana. Yeah, so all right, moving on. Let's go over these Big Ten games. First Big Ten game of the week. Iowa is. Oh wait, you know what? He wrote. I'm trying to watch the chat, Chris. So that's why I'm not as smooth with this.
He's not producing as well.
What is that? What do you think? Is that one all right?
That's it. No, go back.
Why? I'm trying to, because these are weird. We're tiny.
That's fine.
Oh, that was it. That was the
there.
All right. Okay.
There it is.
Iowa is going out to LA.
Friday night, baby.
You guys don't know too much about UCLA, but our football program, but we're in LA. I'm sure you guys don't know too much about UCLA, but
here we go. All right. Iowa's favored by 6.5 points. Mike, what are you thinking here?
Too low, man. That's too low. Hawkeye should be favored by more. I know UCLA is starting to come around. They're playing decent ball, but I think Iowa's much better than UCLA. They're coming off a solid win this past week. Caleb Johnson is a dude. Ashton Genty gets a lot of the love nationally. He should be getting some too. Dude has 19 touchdowns. 19 touchdowns.
Yes. No, he's very good. I'm with you. I'm going to take Iowa. Both these teams are looking a lot better than they were.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, UCLA's looking
Iowa's
than I
tough.
thought they'd be.
Yeah, the thing is though, Iowa's good. UCLA is better, which is not. Yeah.
So they were horrible, and now they're just a rung over that.
That is absolutely, you nailed it. So we're both on Iowa. All right, next game.
Yeah.
Purdue. Oh, we already picked Ohio State. Minnesota goes out to New Jersey to take on the Rutgers Scarlet Knights, and Minnesota is favored by 6 points. Oh, Chris has got something. Money. Hawkeyes over. All right. Cool. So we got to work on the betting. We have to have an off-season show where we just talk about the betting lingo.
Hey,
but all right,
I'm
Minnesota.
working on it. I'm getting it.
No, we're good. Minnesota's favored by 6.
So, PJ Fleck's got his team playing really, really well, and then Greg Schiano has his Rutgers team doing the opposite, not playing nearly as well. Rutgers early on they looked really good, but recently they haven't looked good. And then you're talking about a team that in Minnesota that the Buckeyes kind of wish that they would have gotten that Coy Perich young man, because dude's a baller. They went in real late. He was already committed to the Gophers, and the Buckeyes came in late, and he entertained the offer, but ultimately stayed home because he's a Minnesota kid. Didn't flip. And he's starting, and is probably going to earn freshman All-American honors. He's that damn good. But again, I feel like one team is trending one way, and the other team is trending the other way. And when you look at their last 5, Rutgers is 1-4, Minnesota's 4-1. I got the Gophers.
Okay. Which is, I I was the only one that took Minnesota last week, so obviously I like Minnesota. I think that they are also improving. With that said, Rutgers is coming off of a bye week, and Shiano is a good coach. And Rutgers is tough. They're not good, but they're tough. I think they're in the same tier. We're not talking about Iowa or UCLA where they're in the same. They're not even in the same stratosphere. So I'll go ahead. I'll take Rutgers coming off the bye. The home dog getting 6 points in the Big Ten. Let's ride. Next game, Michigan. The Michigan Wolverines travel to Champaign, Illinois, to take on the Fighting Illini. Wow, Illini.
No. They're not taking on the Illini.
Oh, no, you're right. The Indiana Hoosiers. I'm sorry. Ooh, I wrote it down wrong. Michigan.
Illini are off this week.
Yes, I have. Indiana.
I only know that because my wife goes there and we put on our calendar when the games are, and we did not write Illinois.
I worked until 8 o'clock tonight, so I had to. I scratched down the I. Wasn't very clear. Michigan travels to Bloomington, Indiana, to take on the Indiana Hoosiers, who are favored by 14 friggin' points.
Man. Oh man,
Mike.
Oh man,
what you got? Oh, right. I know what Chris has got.
Sig Hoosier.
Nice long drag off that Sig, baby.
Who's your daddy? It's the Sig 10 that we're living in right now. I think Indiana is going to fall to earth this game. I think they still win. But Michigan's defense is pretty damn good. They held Oregon to 38. Ohio State held Oregon to 31. It's a touchdown. That is true. But again, I think that Michigan will hold them down for a little bit. I still think they win, but I don't think they cover.
Interesting. So Chris writes, Indiana is the only team in the country win every game by 14 points. So I watched the Indiana-Michigan State game. I took Michigan State. I was the only one that did. I was wrong. Michigan State was actually up at one point. It was
10-0, right? It was 10-0 or 14-0.
10-3 or whatever, yeah.
First
and
quarter,
then
right?
then Indiana just smushed them.
Yeah, they scored the final 47 points.
Yeah, I know. It was bad. I'm riding with Michigan. I am riding with Michigan, though. Michigan sucks. Michigan sucks. Yeah, Michigan was bad last week again. They still have no idea what to do with the quarterback. But I'm going to ride with Michigan. They're just tough. They're tough, and this Indiana dream has to die eventually. Moving on to the next game, Maryland travels across the country.
Wait, hold on. Can we go back real quick? Do you have winning outright, or are you just taking the spread?
Michigan winning outright?
Yeah, that's what I'm asking you.
Oh, we've never gone over the specifics before.
No, I don't. I think Michigan keeps it close. I don't think they win.
I'll take Michigan outright.
Okay. See, I got the betting lingo down. I knew what that meant.
I'll probably. We'll see what I put on the USA Today article. I'll probably flip it back. I get real gun shy in that one because I'm getting my ass kicked. Next game, Maryland travels to the West Coast, take on the Oregon Ducks, who are favored by 25 points. Mike, what you thinking?
I got the Ducks. I think they blow out Maryland. Most teams that have to travel cross country have not had much success. I think this is another example of that, and that is true. And I think that the Ducks just. I think Oregon's they've shown that they're a damn good football team. It's hard for me to say that they're the actual best football team, but record-wise, resume-wise, yeah.
Yeah, man. In my opinion, Oregon's the best team in the country. And Maryland blows. I don't care. They're coming off of a bye. I'm right with Oregon. Chris writes, any updates on Tez Johnson? I would assume he's not going to be playing this week.
From what I heard, what I saw, it was not a season-ending injury. They do expect him later on to return this year, but not this weekend.
Right.
Not season.
I thought that they said it was like a chance, though. No.
What I saw is they expect him to return. I did not later on this season, not this weekend.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That's what I saw.
Either way, I don't think they're going to need him. Washington
Agreed.
Goes out to Happy Valley to take on the Penn State Nittany Lions, who are favored by 13.5 points. Mike, what you thinking?
I think Penn State bounces back. Like I said, I think they're a very good team. They battled the Buckeyes for 4 quarters. I mean, there's not a lot of teams in the country that can do that. And I think that, they'll learn from their mistakes. Some odd reason, I don't know, James Franklin plays with a tight butthole. And whenever that there's a single digit number on the team across from him, he always plays up tight. Like what we saw a couple of weeks ago, what was it, USC, where they went down early and then all of a sudden their offense exploded and it was fun offense. Tyler Warren's getting the ball all the time, he's throwing it, he's doing different things. Like we didn't see that. Like I said before the game this past week that I was afraid of Tyler Warren throwing the ball. Right? He's a former quarterback in high school, made the transition to tight end in college. I thought we were going to see him throw the ball. He didn't make an attempt. He ran a couple stupid jet sweeps, which are like, come on, that's really how you're going to use him out of the backfield? Yeah. Like, they weren't super creative with their play calling, which is what we had seen previously. So I don't know what it is with James Franklin. Washington does not have a number next to their name. I think they blow him.
I'm with you. I'm going to take Penn State. Washington has looked a lot better. They looked really. You were the only one that picked them last week, and you were right. So I'm not going to sit here and shit on Washington. I am a little nervous because Penn State looks a little more beat up. Ohio State's a very tough team this year, so they hammered them. So I would venture to say it's probably hard to be 100% healthy after a week against Ohio State.
Sure.
But I do think that there's a huge talent gap. Penn State's good. I'm going to take Penn State. I think they'll be all right. I don't know if James Franklin's a really nice guy. He's one of the only coaches, like when I go down the field early and I take photos and I'm standing there, he'll stop and talk to me. So I really like him, but he's not a good coach. He's in the same, him and Ryan Day have the same issue where they do a lot of they have the appearance and they do a lot of the stuff. They can decorate a mean interior, but the foundation is just shit. Like there's just something missing that keeps them from being that next level. That was another guy that probably shouldn't have been hired because what he did at Vanderbilt was cool, but it was like, I don't know, man. I don't know. I've never been a big James Franklin guy. There's always been something keeping him back. It's hard to go find a James Franklin coach game where you go, wow, that was no mistakes made there. So I don't know if you're a Penn State
they're just
fan.
Like he's gonna have to leave. They're not gonna fire him. They're never gonna fire him. They like him. He's a good representative of the university. He consistently has good teams that go to good bowl games. Yeah, they don't win national championships, but I mean,
I think if you're Penn State,
I think he embodies the program though, and he's like, and Penn State's typically super loyal to their head coaches. So unless he leaves for another job, I don't see them
I think when you look at, I think when you you might be right, but that's dumb.
Well, I'm not saying that it's smart. I'm not saying that it's smart. I'm just saying that I think that's the situation.
Because when you look at Penn State as a football factory, they have the same opportunities as Ohio State.
Sure
Historically, the gap between those two schools should not be as wide as it is. Just like, Penn State is no different than Ohio State and Oregon, but they're treated like they are because they can't ever fucking win. Right? They're in a worse spot than Ohio State because at least Ohio State's got their thumb on James Franklin. Dude, they recruit in a top 50. They got top 15 classes pretty much every year. I mean, you didn't win shit. You had Saquon Barkley, who's maybe the best running back.
At least Penn State has won national championships, unlike Oregon.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, you had one of the best running backs, and you had one of the best running backs in recent history in Saquon Barkley. Okay, and you couldn't win shit with them.
You could say the same thing about Ohio State and C.J. Stroud.
I do say the same thing.
I know, that's
but I do say that, right? Yeah.
I know. That's
so
what
I
I'm
can't
saying,
sit here. I can't sit here and act like James Franklin. I can't sit here and bitch about C.J. Stroud without putting myself in the Penn State fans' shoes and not bitch about James Franklin. Shit, dude. If there's there's no excuse for them to be this. They're always on the outside looking in, and I don't know how the fans deal with that. I simply do not.
It's frustrating. I'm sure it's frustrating. I'm sure it's very frustrating.
I mean, it's got to be. He does the same thing every time he plays anybody with a similar level of talent.
And it's funny because like everyone pregame's like it feels different. This just feels different.
No.
And
it does. And the team is. This is the best Penn State team, and just like Stewart was saying last week, I don't think Stewart's dumb. A lot of people said it. A lot of people said this is the best Penn State team. I believe you. I know it is.
Yeah.
Still the same guy calling the shots, bro. You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
you know, I don't care how beautiful your ship is. If you got a dipshit running, you know, that's the captain, and you're gonna run into an iceberg. Like, this is just that's life, man. You know what I mean? And he does a lot of things right. He's Ryan Day. He's a shitty for Ryan Day. Someone said Ryan Day is the Michael Jordan of James Franklin's. You know what I mean? He does a lot of, you know, and in the offseason, they're going to get 5 because he runs the transfer portal like a G2, right?
Yeah.
They grab that AJ Harris, and he's going to grab 3 fucking kick-ass transfers, and he's going to grab 3 decent 5-star, 4-star freshmen. Everybody's going to go, whoa, this is the year. Yep. They're pretty good. Yep. It's like, dude.
Recruits the lines very well. Yeah. Oh,
yeah,
it's just missing a couple pieces. Just missing a couple pieces.
And they say that every goddamn year. Every goddamn year. And he just never, he's the piece. He's the fucking, you know what the piece is? A fucking timepiece, because the guy can't write a fucking clock.
Yeah, you might not be wrong there.
Yeah. There's just layers of coaches. There's elite coaches like your Nick Sabans, right? You know, I think that Kalen DeBoer is in that level too.
Kirby, you can't put him there yet. He hasn't won a title.
Who, Kalen DeBoer?
Yeah.
He has won a title. He won a title at Grand Valley State. Not as
an assistant at the highest level.
How can you shit on Kalen DeBoer when he's won more? That's what I'm saying. Okay, fine. We'll wait and put Kalen DeBoer there later. But Kalen DeBoer already has a resume where he's built up programs, right? Like Kirk Cignetti, he's a better coach than Ryan Day. Doesn't have a national championship, but I would put him in that top tier. He's already proven that in 3 seconds he can turn around a program shorter than I can wipe my ass. Like, you know what I mean?
Better enjoy this because he ain't gonna be there next year.
Yeah, I mean Jamie Chadwell, same thing. These guys, there's guys that can build programs.
Some SEC team is gonna gobble up Cignetti.
Maybe, yeah. I don't know what's gonna. He's a pretty loyal guy, so I would be shocked if he leaves before he does. I don't know if they promised him either. Rumor has it that they promised him brand new football facilities, and if that's the case, maybe we'll see. But yeah, there's guys like that, and then there's a tier guys that are good enough to not fuck it up. I think Brett Bielema was kind of there, like, all right, you give me a good offensive line, a good running back, I'm not gonna fuck this up. You know what I mean? Kirk Ferentz, I think, is like that. Like, I'm gonna win with I'm gonna take this team a notch above what you give me. Then there's guys that just win with whatever they have, nothing more, nothing less. That's your PJ Flex. You know what I mean? Every now and again, he'll get a stud that's going to make him win enough games where people are impressed, but he doesn't win anything. And then you got your teams your guys that just fucking destroy whatever's in front of him, like Ryan Walters, right? Well, I mean, you know, that's an unfair assumption because he's been there for 1 year. You're Larry Cokers of the world.
Yeah.
There you go, Chris. Chris is given GJ Kenny has got a resume that's already proven. He give him shit and he'll give you caviar. You know what I mean? Like, that's what he's proven. He's done it at Houston Baptist. He's done it at Texas State. What more do you want? They beat fucking Baylor last year, dude. Win the fuck. I mean, that is a national championship at a place like Texas State. They had Cam Ward at a place called Houston Baptist. Hello, that's a win. You know what I mean? Like, but yeah, I just, you know, Ryan Day I think he's in that second tier, and that's why it's hard to get rid of him. And there's the Big Ten is full of those guys too.
Yeah,
that's where we're at.
They really are. They really are. All right, Josh, you got anything else?
That's it. We're good.
All right. Where can we follow your stuff?
Follow me on X at Josh Keatley 16. We got Chris and I have been talking about the offseason, brother. We got some interesting stuff in the works.
Cool.
Yeah, and you can also find my musings at Buckeyes Wire. But definitely, I appreciate you guys hitting me up. I really do. I know I gave you guys a hard time. It's mostly negative comments, but I'll take whatever comments you got. But if you're gonna at least leave a comment on YouTube. Don't text me. Don't message me on X. I appreciate it. I do, but our YouTube numbers need to get up. Like I said, I told Mike before the show, I had more assholes text me and message me than actually watch the fucking episode on YouTube. So
it happens. I guess it is what it is. You can find my stuff on Fighting Irish Wire, but you know, I don't really expect you Buckeye fans to read that. You know, I do miss writing for Buckeyes Wire, though. I definitely do. I asked Josh, I'm sending him stories like 3, 4, 5 story ideas like on the daily. It, you know, I bleed scarlet and gray. It's, you know, like my. You know,
I appreciate it because
it is.
when I get a lunch break, I just go. Mike's
So, yeah,
no Google, no nothing. It's already there. It's already there. My
I'm-
article
yeah.
for the day is already there.
Yeah, I'm still, you know, neck deep in Buckeye stuff. So, you know, and I watch every game, don't miss any of them. Just, I will never not love them. Anyways, that's it for us for today. Once again, we appreciate you listening. Like Josh said, go and like, subscribe, comment on our YouTube channel over there. We'd very much appreciate that. And that's it for us. Let's beat some Boilers this weekend. Go Bucks.
Go Bucks.